Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Tuesday, November 20th, 2018. Some of the top stories today. The Khashoggi story front and center. Donald Trump willing to excuse Saudi Arabia. This story fits the perfect pattern we've been documenting since the day the news broke. I'm going to show you just how perfectly coordinated this latest update is in the story. Big bombing in Kabul. Today's a special day in the Muslim calendar year. Today's the day they celebrate the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad. And we're going to talk about why so many sources are reporting 43 dead as the news breaks. Not an accident. Yesterday, we covered two of the shootings that made the media on the 19th. Apparently, there were two more, because this morning they're letting us know that 4 shootings happened yesterday, November 19th. 4 fatal shootings across 4 states. 4 and 4. And we know a lot about that number and shooting news by the numbers. The market also had a very terrible day today, and it is perfectly synced with Donald Trump. Again, we've been talking about how Donald Trump is this symbol for the planned demise of the market, the house of cards, the Trump card. Announced as the 45th president-elect on the anniversary of the fall of the wall, like Wall Street, Berlin Wall. Berlin Wall, Wall Street, they both sum to 45, like Donald being number 45. And then on the 323rd day of the year, news about Ivanka using her personal email account for government business. Deja vu. Remember when Hillary supposedly deleted her 33,000 emails? Also today, the first East Coast state, or at least in the Northeast, to have recreational marijuana. The rec stores opened up today, 47 days after the licenses were given out in Massachusetts. We'll talk more about that. This past Sunday during the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys, one of their players, his brother reportedly committed suicide during the game. And what's so interesting is this player is from Atlanta, where Dallas was playing, when his brother reportedly committed suicide. We'll talk more about that. Snoop Dogg yesterday got a Hollywood star on the day, leaving 42 days left in the year. Talk more about that. Also, we had a caller yesterday talking about November 23rd, and we were talking about the significance of 9 and 23. This week on the 23rd, big event having to do with a $9 million match between Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson. So that's coming up. We've been talking about the Los Angeles Rams who practiced near where the shooting happened in LA at the Borderline bar. That same day that news broke, or actually the news happened really late the evening before. It was the main news story on November 8th. The shooting was on the 7th. And then later that same day, a fire erupted in the same neighborhood. Last night, Jared Goff paid tribute to the victims of the shooting and the fire. And lo and behold, his father is supposedly a firefighter as well. So want to discuss that a little bit, and even take a look at Mandy Moore's recent wedding, which is in the news. So let's start right here with the latest news in the Jamal Khashoggi crisis. Today, November 20th, is the day leaving 41 days left in the year. And we've been talking about this number again and again. If you go through all of the posts I now have on Khashoggi, there's well over 20 posts. This number comes up every single time. It's coded into every single story. So here we are on the day leaving 41 days left in the year. And not only that, but today is a span of 41 days since the news broke about Khashoggi. So it's the 41st day of this news on the day leaving 41 days left in the year. In Gematria, Saudi Arabia sums to 41. We've been talking about the significance of this number, 41 in Saudi Arabia, since September 11th, 2001. And before I go ahead, I just want to let you guys know that tomorrow night on the radio show, I had somebody call me here on the the Gematria hotline, and they let me know that they are going to call into the radio show tomorrow and prove that Gematria is all coincidence. All of this is just number play, and he is going to prove definitively that all of this is a coincidence. So I'm actually looking forward to that phone call on the radio show tomorrow. I don't think he's going to be successful, but last week I tried to have a Gematria debate and nobody called in. So I think he got inspired by that. He's been grinding for a week, and now he thinks he has the evidence to prove that Gematria is all coincidence. So, I'll ask him about things like this. How do you disprove this? How do you dismiss this as coincidence? And also what we've been doing for 5 years straight and all the predictions and et cetera, et cetera. But that is something to look forward to if you listen to my radio show. Also tomorrow, we might very well have on a Freemason who's interested in this work and who wants to share some additional knowledge. So tomorrow night's radio show, that's not this podcast. That'll be on the TFR live show. So something to look forward to for tomorrow. Anyhow, day leaving 41 days left in the year. Trump ready to dismiss Saudi Arabia from the Khashoggi killing. And in our base cipher, our most pierced Saudi Arabia is 41. And our base cipher, where we reverse the alphabetic order, Khashoggi is 41. And USA is also 41. November is also 41. This news about the Khashoggi killing officially broke October 11th, 2018. Bob Corker in the House was one of the main voices to get this story rolling. From that day, the news broke to today, a span of 41 days. How perfect. And again, they're saying that this is the biggest crisis between the United States of America and Saudi Arabia since September 11th, 2001, where the majority of hijackers were from Saudi Arabia, and they were part of a group called Al-Qaeda. Notice September 11th, 2001 was a date with 41 numerology. Al-Qaeda also sums to 41. The other big piece about today's news is that Trump is dismissing the CIA investigation that holds the Saudi royal family at fault for the killing of this man. And keep in mind, 41 is the 13th prime number. Again, USA is 41, like the 13 stripes, the 13 colonies, the 13 years of public school programming that most of us go through. But CIA also 13. And don't forget that when you write out 13, it sums to 117, like Central Intelligence Agency. Also like the United States of America. Keep in mind, it was also October 13th, 2018, that Trump had this headline. Trump vows severe punishment if journalist was killed by Saudis. This was October 13th, 2018 news. That was a date with 41 numerology. And, this is what politicians do again and again, right? Come out with big statements and then don't follow through on their promises. It's the same thing, no matter if it's a Republican, a Democrat. It's just the same tired cycles. And you see what happens in these tired cycles. The people who line up with one political party, they'll just excuse it. Oh, well, it's the other political party they don't like so much. They make a big deal about it. You see this on all news networks. You see this in all political factions. Turning a blind eye to their own side, just waiting to go after the other side. And that's also part of what this is about, keep us caught in these same tired cycles. And if you want to go through my blog, just again, if you're on your cell phone, you won't see this in the top left corner. What you have to do if you're on my blog, Free to Find Truth, is you have to scroll to the bottom of the page on your cell phone. And then at the bottom, you'll see where it says View Web Version. You want to click that button, and then this will open up. And then you would just search Khashoggi. Got to spell it right. It's kind of a tricky name. And there are just tons and tons and tons of posts here. Because, this story has been big now for 41 days. And that's kind of what blew my mind when I noticed. I was like, man, it's already been 41 days. Just reminds me how fast time is flying. And The other thing I think about is how involved Turkey has been in this story. Today, Donald Trump was pardoning the turkeys. I believe pardoned has Gematria 41, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that. Pardoned. It does. Call it a coincidence. But Trump was pardoning the turkeys today. Turkey, the nation, had the evidence that the Saudis were responsible. That was all news by the numbers too along the path. So also from this same region of the world, suicide bombing in Kabul. That's the capital of Afghanistan. And this comes on an Islamic holy day. And again, we're watching the date August 11th, 2019. That's the Islamic Day of Sacrifice. It's also during the time of the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. It's also the date of Tisha B'Av to remember the destruction of the two temples. But anyhow, today there was a suicide bombing. Let's not forget that the word suicide has gematria 43, like killing. And the initial report said 43 dead. And I guarantee this number will change, but pretty much all of the mainstream media across the world was on the same page reporting 43 dead, and not by accident. Today is the day to remember the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad. And the way we spell Muhammad, commonly in English, is Muhammad, Gematria 43. Also like Jesus Christ. Remember, the Jesuit orders, they're the Society of Jesus, which sums to 191, the 43rd prime. So anyway, 43 dead, it's Muhammad's birthday. Muhammad's 43, Masonics 43, killings 43, suicide is also 43. A little bit ahead, we're going to talk about the death of the Dallas Cowboys brother who reportedly committed suicide on the day leaving 43 days left in the year. We talked about the rock musician a couple months back in Portland who supposedly committed suicide in Portland at age 43. Portland's known as RIP City, RIP 43, like suicide. She supposedly killed herself after a concert, not unlike some other stories we've heard in recent times, Chris Cornell and whatnot. So anyway, 43 dead. It's the Prophet Muhammad's birthday. We talked about this recently with the elections of the two Islamic women in the United States, the first two Muslim congresswomen. Both of them, their names connected to 13 and the Prophet Muhammad. Go back and see that work. Remember, M is the 13th letter. This news also comes on the day leaving 41 days left in the year, the 13th prime. Muslim, Muhammad. The name of this holiday to celebrate the Prophet's birthday also begins with M. And don't forget the word prophet has gematria of 91, the 13th triangular number. So here we are today, November 20th. Again, the day leaving 41 days left in the year. In gematria, terror equals 41. In Al-Qaeda, September 11, 2001. Remember who we invaded after 9/11? It was Afghanistan. So the name of this holiday is Mawlid. And what's interesting about this holiday is it has gematria of 62, like Afghanistan. That's interesting. This holiday also has gematria of 26. The reflection is 62, like chaos. And we know the agenda, order out of chaos. Afghanistan in the base cipher, also 46, like chaos, like the Latin motto for order out of chaos. Ordo ab cal. The death toll could rise further. Quotes of how they counted at least 30 dead, but we understand why they reported 43. The bombing was outside of the Polytechnic University. What jumps out about that name is the gematria of 112, the most common emergency dialing code in the world, 112. The alt to 911 in the US. The 113 also stands out. We know the numbers well. Also, the last major bombing in Kabul was July 22nd, 2018. It was a assassination attempt on the vice president, as it was reported. From July 22nd to today, November 20th, is 121 days later. That stands out for multiple reasons. July 22nd, 22/7, like 227, the 49th prime number. Today's date has 49 numerology, and we often see this pairing of 49 and 121. Call them the revelation numbers. Revelation, the final book of the Bible, having a lot to do with death and destruction. And with regards to 121 days, consider that 121 has a square root of 11. Here we are in the 11th month. Again, today's date has 49 numerology. So they said ISIL could be responsible. ISIL also has that gematria of 49. That bombing on July 22nd killed 14 people. The word bomb in our most pure cipher is 14. 43 is the 14th prime number. Today was a bombing as well, with 43 reported dead at first. And I just want to look at the president of the nation. 69 years old. Today's date has 69 numerology, like the 69 at the top of the Masonic arch. Born in 49 was he. This comes 6 months and 1 day after his birthday. His name equals 61, the 18th prime number. So some things could be coincidental, but what's definitely not is why this happened today on the day leaving 41 days left in the year, and why they reported 43 dead initially. So also, as we talked about in the beginning, headline this morning, 4 high-profile fatal shootings in 4 states. These all reportedly happened yesterday, November 19th. 19, our chaos number, order out of chaos. We covered the 3 killed at the Chicago hospital. We didn't do that in yesterday's podcast, but as soon as I got out of the podcast, this was the news and put up a video on it. It's on the YouTube if you missed it. I guess just real quick, we can review. We can review very quickly. Again, yesterday left 42 days left in the year. The focus is guns, gun 42. Hospital and shooting have that gematria of 37 and 44. Chicago's 37. Rahm Emanuel, the mayor there, 37. The police officer who was forced reported killed, the first name out, his name was Samuel Jimenez, both names 37. And this happened in Cook County. There were a few other important notes. The hospital was said to be at the address 2600 Michigan Avenue. Again, chaos in our base ciphers synced up perfectly with the event. Chaos 46, Chicago 46, chaos 89, Chicago, Illinois 89, chaos 19 on the 19th. The hospital at the address 2600 plus Mercy is 26. So again, the caller who called me this morning, he said that when you do this with 4 ciphers, you can make anything fit, but can you really? I mean, I know that's not true. So I am looking forward to that phone call tomorrow. He says he's got it proven that it's all just a coincidence. So anyway, that was one of the events. The other shooting yesterday that got national headlines was the Denver shooting. And again, dates in the calendar year, locations, they're always syncing up. November 19, 2018, date was 68, numerology, Denver 68. Again, on the 19th, said the shooting was at about 4 p.m. Same day it was shooting at a hospital, 4:44, again and again, so repetitive. Remember the high school football shooting earlier this year? 4 shots fired in the 4th quarter of the game, they reported. Another story that I didn't see in the news yesterday, but that they talked about this morning is, I guess there was one yesterday in Missouri. And Missouri happens to be one of those states summing to 42. Not many, but Missouri's one. And yesterday left 42 days left in the year. A Catholic supply business in Baldwin, Missouri. Let's just take a look at Baldwin. I didn't go that far. I just looked at the Missouri part. Baldwin. Baldwin's got the Gematria 44, like shooting. You know, Baldwin, Missouri. I think the big one there is the Baldwin 44 and the Missouri 42 on the day, leaving 42 days left in the year. And then a shooting in Philadelphia as well, or people found shot to death in a basement. And I just noticed that the Gematria basement 79 like murder, 25 like death, 137 the 33rd prime, 47 signature. And, we've covered some of the numbers of Philadelphia before. Standout Masonic numbers. They said it was in Southwest Philadelphia. Yesterday had the 48 date numerology, 93 propaganda, 33 another number of masonry. Repetitive numbers that we find again and again into the coded shootings and news. So, stock market, big plunge today. I think the final number was something over 500. Take a peek at this. We've been talking about how these collapses in the economy are perfectly synced with Trump. And from his birthday to this news today is 159 days later. Yesterday, the market did terrible. Yesterday was Trump's 159th day of his age. Today's 159 days after his birthday. Donald Trump, 159. Scottish Rite, 159. Look at what time they posted this at here. 1059. Coincidence? Again, I mean, for the guy who's going to call in tomorrow, he's just going to look like a joke. We've been showing how consistently all of this stuff's done for 5 years straight. So, to think that he's cracked the code to disprove this, I just can't wait for the phone call. I can't wait to see what his silver bullet is. But anyway, it's the same thing day after day. You just look at the numbers in the news headlines that tell you the story when you know the code. But there's more. I'll point out that November and market's doing very bad in November, even worse than October. Overlap there with November and market. But here's the big one. The high for the market for the year was October 3rd, not that long ago. From October 3rd to November 20th is 48 days later. And remember, Donald Trump announces the 45th president, or the 45th president-elect on the anniversary of the fall of the wall. Wall's also 48. Remember how after Trump became president, him and LeBron James, they were on these same paths. Trump had his convention in Cleveland in the stadium that LeBron James plays in. The Cavs had just won the championship there. Then Donald Trump had his convention. Then they both were in the White House conveniently on the exact same day. And then LeBron James got the hit show called The Wall. Wall's 48. James is 48. Cleveland's 48. So anyway, and then, of course, in the most pure cipher, Donald Trump's 48. In Hebrew and in English, Freemason's 48. Freemason and economics are a perfect overlap in all four ciphers. Masonic symbolism all over the dollar bill, the economic instrument. So anyway, exactly 48 days after the high, which was also the day that Trump sent out his presidential alert text. This was the day, October 3rd. 48 days later, another major tanking. There's been a lot of major tanking lately. And we said to watch out for that date, October 10th, 2018, which was foreshadowed in the Economist cover. That ended up being the third worst date in market history. It's been a major roller coaster since then on a downward decline, which is exactly what I said to expect to happen. Now, I do have somebody in my ear who's saying that the market's going to rebound and go to above 30,000. I said I don't think we'll see the market go above 26,000. That was my prediction. That's been true so far. But I do have somebody in my ear saying that it's going to have this massive rebound and go to an all-new high. So we'll see. I'll be surprised if that happens. So, other top story today. Ivanka using her personal email for government business. And again, this news broke yesterday, but it's front and center today as well. Donald Trump responding, talking about this today. Has anyone ever noticed that Donald Trump, so often when he's talking to the media, he's talking in front of a helicopter? In my book, I talk about the riddles with Trump and helicopters, have a theory on why. But I don't remember any president ever talking so much in front of helicopters as Trump. It seems that he talks to the media more often in helicopters than anywhere else. Pay attention to that if you've never noticed. He's having to yell loud, doing his repetitive hand gestures. I'm just thinking, why do they always choose to interview him in front of a helicopter that's roaring in the background? And it's that riddle with choppers and Trump. I'll never forget the 88th day of the year right after Trump became president, the greatest helicopter ritual of all. And we predicted that there would be some big Trump ritual on that day. And boy, was there ever. But anyhow, this news broke November 19th, the 323rd day of the year. Personal email accounts 323. It's also the day leaving 42 days left in the year. Computer and internet are 42. There's also this reminder. Hillary, when she had the email thing going on, we were talking about this. Email Hillary November 40. Remember, just before the election, the FBI reopened the investigation. That was the news media's reason for Trump winning. They thought the FBI reinvestigating that days before the election tipped enough people in Trump's corner. Remember, that was the story. And then Trump ended up firing Comey, who had that decision. It's like, wait a minute, you're going to fire the dude who they're saying is the reason that you became president? Of course, it's all a script. Comey versus the comb over. Think about it. That was all by the numbers. But in the base ciphers, email and Ivanka also have overlap, like email and Hillary. And November, Hillary and Ivanka also have this overlap. Today, Trump's addressing this, saying that it's not the same because Ivanka didn't delete her emails like how Hillary deleted 33,000 emails, bringing that number back up today. Remember why it was 33. Clinton is 33, and the most Pierce cipher, like federal, masonry, like secrecy, like order. So Trump addressing this on the day leaving 41 days left in the year. Couldn't help but notice that when the news broke, it was also on Hillary's 25th day of her age, where that's been a big number with Trump throughout the administration. And even though it's a contrived story, I would agree with Trump that, yeah, it's not quite the same. Because, I mean, if Hillary really did delete all these emails to hide the evidence, it's not the same thing, but it obviously has parallels because the whole problem was Hillary was doing government business on her personal email. So I don't think I need to explain the obvious to you, but very clear to see. More news by the numbers, unless you believe it's all a coincidence. So Massachusetts becomes the first state in the Northeast, from what I understand, east of the Mississippi, to have recreational marijuana, a distinction from medical marijuana. If you don't understand that distinction, medical marijuana, you need to get the card from a doctor who's willing to say that you're eligible, and then you have to go the medical marijuana route. There's medical marijuana shops. Recreational marijuana is just, hey, if you're 21 years old or older, you can buy marijuana, like you can buy cigarettes or alcohol. So today leaves 41 days left in the year. I thought about that because 41 is the 13th prime. The first letter in marijuana is M, the 13th letter. Same with Massachusetts. And do you recall how when California opened up their recreational marijuana shops, they did it 420 days from the vote, like how 420, the common marijuana code and numbers, the marijuana reference and numbers, the 420 thing originates from California? I didn't see the same exact type of pattern with this one, but what did stand out to me, well, Massachusetts has the Gematria 69, and we're on a date with 69 numerology. That stood out. But what really stood out was the fact that it was October 4th that they gave out the licenses to open up these rec shops. And now 47 days later, the stores are open. That jumped out at me, 47. So the 6 weeks and 5 days is also kind of interesting because marijuana has that Gematria 65 in the base ciphers. But 47 again and again, our number that symbolizes time, foundation. So 47 days after the licenses are given out, the store's open. So here's another story that reminds of remember, prior to this NFL week, with this story of the Dallas Cowboys brother committing suicide, the prior NFL week, the young star QB for the Kansas City Chiefs, he set a record for the franchise, passing NFL great Len Swan. And at the same game where he set the record, his girlfriend's stepfather dropped dead on the same day, at the same game, at the same time. All of these things were happening. So before this game was played, we pointed out that, the week prior, George W. Bush had been at the Cowboys game in Philadelphia. They got a big win on the road. Now they have a big game against Philadelphia on the road. Realize the Philadelphia Falcons and the Philadelphia Eagles and the Atlanta Falcons, these two teams the Cowboys are playing, they're both bird teams, and they're both the two NFC teams to be in the last Super Bowls. Anyhow, the week prior, George W. Bush, part of the ritual. This week, we were thinking about how the game fell on November 18th, the 322nd day of the year, 322. Yale Skull and Bones, 322. The day leaving 43 days left in the year, Yale, 43. Masonic, 43. George W. Bush, the 43rd president. And he's part of the legacy of the Bush family that began with Prescott Bush, the first member that was a member of Skull and Bones. The star player of the Dallas Cowboys is Dak Prescott, the quarterback, Prescott. So anyway, we were focused on these numbers and the Cowboys, and if there might be some significant ritual with the team. Well, lo and behold, one of their players ends up having his brother die. And with regards to November 18th, leaving 43 days left in the year, Dallas Cowboys equals 43, football 43, Masonic 43, Yale 43, suicide 43, killing 43. Don't forget that in light of Yale, Walter Camp, the Freemason who went to Yale, is credited with American football. And this player who lost his brother, his birthday is March 4th, which can be written 4/3. He's from Atlanta. He was playing in Atlanta when his brother died, supposedly by suicide. And again, suicide's 43. This player who lost his brother, he also played at Colorado State University, but in the state Colorado, and Colorado has the Gematria 43. So, there's probably not a more perfect player on the team to participate in this ritual sacrifice in numbers by a very repetitive pattern. And in addition, it was a date with 67 numerology, the blood sacrifice number, a number that we see again and again show up in these type of stories. Keep in mind, this man also wears the number 13. Dallas equals 13. 41 is the 13th prime number. The Cowboys won this game 22-19, 41 combined points. And Skull and Bones in the most pure cipher is 41, like how George Herbert Walker Bush was the 41st president, who's still breathing. I'm surprised he's still up. I really did think they would have got him by now. So see how much longer he goes for. But there was a tragic death on this date by the numbers. And don't forget the Bush family used to own the Texas Rangers baseball team that doesn't play too far from the Dallas Cowboys and Rangers and the five-pointed star. Similar symbolism. So notice he was also the 81st pick of the draft, what we call the ritual number. So, Jeremy, who's probably in the chat right now, he had a really great comment for this. When I saw this guy's name, Gallop, it made me think of how a horse gallops. Horses and cowboys, they go 2-2. But Jeremy took the thought a ways further. Jeremy wrote, Michael Gallup reminds me of a horse gallop, horse running at full speed, a fitting name for a cowboy, and he's from Colorado, the land of the Broncos. This news comes on the same day Colt McCoy becomes the starter for the Redskins, who are a division rival of the Cowboys. And also the Cowboys and Redskins will play on Thanksgiving, Cowboys and Indians. So, great observations by Jeremy. Again, it is a web of riddles. And think about the East that had to come together for Colt McCoy to be in the game. You know, Colt McCoy entered the game because Alex Smith broke his leg in the Joe Theismann ritual. And somebody now did even more research on the Joe Theismann, Alex Smith 33-year injury coincidence with a bunch of asterisks next to the word coincidence. They realized that Joe Theismann and Alex Smith were hurt on the exact same hash mark of the NFL field. They were at the same place on the field, 33 years to the day. They both finished their seasons with 301 pass attempts, and the score of the game was the exact same 33 years apart. Plus, it's also been pointed out now, a lot of people went to town on this. Joe Theismann has a nephew named Alex Smith, who's exactly 33 years old right now. So what in the world is going on? You know? With regards to Snoop Dogg getting a Hollywood Walk of Fame star, remember, this is the same day in history that Milli Vanilli had their Grammy taken away. We were talking about that yesterday. This happened yesterday in the news later in the day. Notice Snoop Dogg's 47 years old, that magic number. Think about what 47 has to do with the nearest star to us, what we call the sun. Remember, the tropics of this earth, which measure the solstices, which are a measurement of the sun, they're 47 degrees apart. But what jumps out at me right away is that from Snoop Dogg's birthday to him getting the star on the day leaving 42 days left in the year was 30 days or 4 weeks and 2 days. And as we know, the N word sums to 30 and 42, so does slavery, so does Tuskegee, and there's more to that list. It reminds me how when Tiger Woods made his big comeback at age 42, it was 30 days from his birthday. Don't think this is any accident. I think this is more mockery. And I suspect Snoop Dogg doesn't have a clue. So, or maybe he does. He's definitely been a beneficiary of the system, just like this man next to him. If you've never seen my work on the suicide of Dr. Dre's son, his suicide had everything to do with 43. Let me just look that up real quick. Something we haven't covered for years. Here's another post. You know, Dr. Dre's song about, shooting people essentially. 44 reasons come to mind. Tomorrow, a guy's going to call in and tell me that all this is a coincidence. I'm still looking forward to it. But hold on. Where's the post that I want? How come it didn't come up? Dr. Dre's son. Hold on. I thought this would pull up a lot easier. Let's see. Hmm. Well, when Dr. Dre released his album The Chronic, which has the Gematria 43, it came out 43 weeks after his own birthday. And when his son committed suicide, Dr. Dre was 43 years old, and his son died 187 days after his 43rd birthday. Dr. Dre also has a song about 187, the homicide code. So, you know, there's just too many repetitions of the same patterns over the years for there to be any way to disprove this as coincidence. But somebody's going to try tomorrow. So, anyway. Also, right after we got after the podcast, this headline caught my attention. Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson set November 23rd date for $9 million match play, and we were talking about it. 23, the ninth prime. So I wanted to see how this lined up with Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson's birthdays. Tiger Woods' birthday is December 30th, the same day as LeBron James, 12 plus 30, 42. And remember, when you write out 9 with the alphabetic order, Nine, ends the 14th letter, I's the ninth, ends the 14th, E's the fifth. 9 sums to 42. Tiger's 42 right now. He'll turn 43 December 30th. But Phil Mickelson, guess how far this is from his birthday? It's exactly 23 weeks. 23 weeks for Phil Mickelson. So, and consider that Mickelson's 48 and Tiger's 42 are numbers that sync up with Freemason. So, no accident there. 23, the ninth prime. News by the numbers, sports by the numbers. Can't wait to see the results. Also, the Rams pulled out the Monday Night Football win, the highest scoring Monday night game ever. The losing team went down with 51. Rams equals 51, like conspiracy, like mass shooting. And at the end of the game, remember 51 was a number we talked about when decoding that mass shooting. One of the guys who survived both the Las Vegas attack of October 1st, 2017, and this Borderline Bar more recent shooting, his name, Gematria 51, one of the examples. But anyway, Jared Goff, he hugged the victims at the end, and then he talked about the fires, and he wore the fire department hat, an LAFD, Los Angeles Fire Department. And I couldn't help but notice that LAFD's 85, like National Football League, and LAFD's 23. We called 23 as a number to look for in the game. The halftime score was 23-23. And I forgot to put the picture up here. Maybe it's still on my desktop. Here it is. This was supposed to be in that thing. This man, number 77, donated his game check to the families affected by the shooting. And recall, he was the guy who was mic'd up for the Monday Night Football game earlier this year with the Rams that carried into September 11th, 2018 on the East Coast. And you might recall at the end of that game, there was a woman that they were sure to show on the sidelines who had the Star of David tattooed on her wrist. And all night, that September 11th ritual game, they kept going to this man, number 77, who was mic'd up. And it just made me think about how in the aftermath of 9/11, a lot of the focus was on the firemen who died. 2 years ago on Thanksgiving, I used to have a video on this. Dennis Leary, who has the fire show, the comedian, he did a thing with the Dallas Cowboys. The story was that the Dallas Cowboys showed up at Fire Station 43, which was supposed to be the poorest fire station in Dallas. And they bought them all new Ford pickup trucks. Ford 43. Of course, football's 43. And firemen's also 43. And I wish I still had that video up because I actually played the entire clip of it. But they just 43 was on the screen through the whole thing. And then I forget what the name of Dennis Leary's firefighter. I can just look it up here. Dennis Leary Firefighter Foundation. I want to look up what the name of it is. I don't think that's it. I know that's what it says here, but I swear it's something longer. Here, hold on. I want the same thing that it says from the Dallas Cowboys thing. Leary, Dallas, Ford. Let's see if this pulls it up. There it is. So it was all about Fire Station 43. You know, they had the old beat up couch. They probably just made up this whole set just for this television special. And, to sell some Ford pickup trucks. Again, some people think this is all a coincidence. But I guess it is just the Leary Firefighters Foundation. The Leary Firefighters Foundation. Anyway, with the alphabetic order, the Leary Firefighters Foundation is 343. And if you go back and look, they say that's how many firemen died on September 11th. 343. So the Leary Firefighters Foundation is also 163, the 38th prime. Fire with the alphabetic order is 38. So anyway, just looking at this and just seeing, the numbers that are repetitively put forth, that guy's running around wearing number 77, right? He participated in the September 11th football game ritual. And remember there were 2 Monday night games that night. The total scores are all 4 of the scores sum to 111 points, like how September 11th leaves 111 days left in the year, like how New York's 111. And then that Star of David on the screen. Remember, you write out September 11th at 77, like how number 77 donated all of his money to the victims last night. And September 11th is also 85, like this LAFD, like National Football League. And for one more thing, yesterday's date had the 68 numerology. And I know all of you who are watching are familiar with 68 and September 11th. We just talked about that big not too many days ago. 68 was the year that the plan for 9/11 went into motion. So seems like some subtle tributes to something even more historic than what's going on in California right now, which really is all part of one ongoing agenda. Where sports is the distraction and football, it becomes part of the narrative. Just like how after 9/11, it was the Patriots and the Patriot Act. And the New York Jets, who won their only Super Bowl in 68. So for one last little story that's not so important, then I'll open it up for your phone calls. Mandy Moore got married on November 18th, 18. And consider that date has 47 numerology, like how time equals 47, and marriage is supposed to be something that lasts for all of the rest of your time on this earth. As we talked about, it's also the day leaving 43 days left in the year, and wife equals 43. We just saw the story with the young Jenner girl and the rapper, I think his name's Travis Scott. Anyway, he made the comment about Kylie Jenner being his wife on this day. TMZ had that as a top story in the morning. Wife 43 on the day, leaving 43 days left in the year. But I noticed that Taylor's 33 years old. And from Mandy Moore's birthday to the date of this union was her 223rd day of her age on the 322nd day of the year. So how perfect. How perfect. Every time I look at one of these celebrity marriages, there's always some very significant numerical ritual in play. And again, The numbers code, the code of the elite, as some people call them. So, which the world of entertainment is. Anyhow, if anybody wants to phone in, the number is 509-731-0567. 509-731-0567. If anybody wants to call in, I do have the phone here today, so I can answer it and turn on the speaker. The noise, the volume should be better. Or maybe we don't have any callers today. Oh, there we go. Hello.
Yeah, how you doing, Zach?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. I got some questions here. I'm hoping you could clear some of it up, but I don't know. Could you explain why they're doing these? Like, what do they get out of these numbers rituals? Who are they paying tribute to? And, like, who is the god that they worship? Because I don't understand what they're getting out of this. Do you understand my point?
Well, yeah, I do get your point, but I mean, I do get your point.
They merged the number with the letter, and that's how God was, God created the world, merging the number and the letter.
And the word, right?
Who's the God that they believe in then? Like,
well, the God of the Old Testament, elite. So that's why Genesis is written the way it is. God speaking the world into existence over numbered days. So, I mean, it sounds like you know the answer to the question. They believe this is the way God created the world. They're playing God by using what's believed to be God's code. And I don't know if you watched yesterday's video on Alex Smith, but it does seem that maybe if you're the master of this knowledge, you can use it to, have real impact.
They're not using it for good purposes. I mean, if isn't God supposed to be good? Like, wouldn't they pay tribute to God by doing good things with this knowledge?
Have you read the Bible before?
Have I read the Bible?
Yeah.
Well, here and there, different parts. Not the whole thing straight through. Absolutely not. No.
Well, I wouldn't say that the God of the Old Testament's all good. I mean, he does a lot of horrible things to humanity, including trying to destroy all of them. So.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So then, who do you believe that God is? I mean, do you believe that there is a good God out there? And if so, why are these things happening in the world and God is not intervening in any way? I mean, it's just horrible destruction and evil. Like, well, why isn't whatever God that's good that's out there stepping in and doing something? I'm just not getting it. I'm just not putting all of this together.
Well, there's different, everybody has different beliefs about God. Some people would say that God is intervening, and the people speaking out and trying to raise awareness and fight back are God's positive intervention. That's how some people would say it. There's also a spiritual belief that God created the world, but ever since God created the world, God doesn't intervene. God just watches God's creation. And that's supposedly a belief held by many of elite. And honestly, that belief seems to make sense to me, because I used to ask the same question: why does God let so much evil go on in the world? And, again, all things are dualistic. So I do believe that there's just as much good as there is evil in the world. The reason that we probably notice more evil is because of who controls the information that impacts our mind every single day, because all they focus on is the negative and the death and the killing and the destruction and the fear. So, I mean, when you're watching my work, I'm exposing that and showing how these people operate and contrive this. But I mean, if you go out into nature in a beautiful place, the world doesn't seem so bad. You're not being sabotaged by the media and its negativity. You're seeing the beauty of this world, which some people would create to God and some people would credit to, explosion by chance. So there's so many beliefs.
You see, and another thing is that have you heard of Bill Cooper before?
Of course.
Okay, because I listened to his work quite extensively, and he says that they worship man, like man is God to them, like the intellect is what they worship. The gift of the intellect. With that gift, that man could become God himself, and it seems like that's all that they worship. It's man as the intellect, and the intellect is represented by fire, and the sun represents the intellect to them, and they feel that with that gift of intellect that was given to what was it, Adam and Eve in the Garden of Good and Evil,
right?
That with that gift of intellect, that man can become God himself. And that gift of intellect was given to them by the serpent, which represented Lucifer. So I was under the impression Lucifer is the God that they worship, which actually is represented by a lot of different things, like the sun and various other things. So I really think it's just the man is God to them. Man could conquer nature with that gift of intellect.
Sure, and that's the whole thing with Kabbalah is the tree of good and evil, and understanding how God operates and becoming like God and playing God. So again, it goes back to your original question: why are they doing this? Their belief system says that this is how God operates. They're mimicking God. They're doing what they understand the way how God created and contrived the world. So.
And what's interesting about a lot of things interesting about your work is I don't remember him ever talking about this the way you're talking about it. I don't remember him going into the number rituals and things like that. He never really got into that.
Well, he went out in a number ritual. I'm not even sure he really died. So if you read my book, his death's in there.
I have the book. I read the first chapter. So
you just do it. You can do a Control F and just find the page on his death. It's near the end of the book.
Oh, you don't think he died?
Well, if he did, he went out by the code. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, anyway, thanks, Zach. I appreciate it.
You didn't notice he died November 6th?
No, I knew he died November 6th, but I really thought the way it happened was the way it happened, the way they said it happened. At least I didn't have any reason to believe that it happened any other way.
Well, read the end of my book. You'll see. Very, very numerological, his death there. And, Bill Cooper put out as much crap as he did truth. I mean, so I'm skeptical of all famous conspiracy theorists, if you will, so.
I think that guy was 100%. I really do. I don't think there was much crap in that guy. I really don't. But I mean, everybody's got their opinion on it. But I'll read the book, definitely.
You think he's right about all the alien stuff?
What's that?
You think he's right about all the alien stuff?
No, but you know what? He changed his mind on that. That was his earlier research.
That's over half of his research, man. That's over half of it.
No, but he did change. He did say, I heard him in an interview saying, he doesn't believe that they really exist. He said that the technology of the UFOs exists, but as far as them being, he doesn't believe that they're created by a green alien or whatever. They're not operated by a green alien, but he does feel that the technology is available. That they have this technology to create flying saucers and things of that nature. So he really changed his tune on that. On the alien stuff. He really he did not believe that aliens existed.
Okay.
He made that clear though. He really did. But his earlier stuff was kind of far out there with the aliens. But after a while, I think he believed that he was used just like everybody else to see certain things and then and then talk about it. But I think he changed his tune on that. But anyway, I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point. But do you feel that the technology exists in the world to make the UFOs and these flying saucers and stuff?
Well, they've shown those things even on History Channel. So
All right, pal. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
All right.
Have a good one.
Yeah, take care, man. All right, well, I'll keep the number open for a little bit more if anybody else wants to phone in. 509-731-0567. All right, you guys. Well, if we don't have a lot of calls today, we can wrap it up right there. We'll be back tomorrow and Gematria school tonight. We're going to be talking more about Hermeticism and Kabbalah in Gematria school. And let me think about, yeah, okay. So it'll be next Tuesday that it's open up to everybody on Patreon. Tonight's just the $11 members. And for all of you who asked me about when we're doing the Thanksgiving games, that's tomorrow, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern. So be back tomorrow for that. All right, you guys, have a great rest of your day. Appreciate all of you supporting and being here. Until next time.